What's going on, everyone? I'm just a standard American here today to learn and react to when Canada burned down the White House? What? Okay, yes, I did watch a video just before this one about the War of 1812. A lot of crazy stuff happening that I didn't know about. And one of the crazier things that I didn't know was just casually, Canada burned down the White House? I've never heard of this. This is not something that's really taught in America, or I was asleep that day in elementary school, asleep on my little desk, little tiny me. But no, I have never heard this brought up in conversation on the news. Any, you know, referring to this event, which is very strange to me. Very, very strange. Maybe this video can give me more clarification on why that is. Why I didn't know the White House was burned. Yeah, just kind of crazy to think about. Anyway, I'm very interested to hear this story, so let's get to it.
So it is 1783, and the Treaty of Paris has just been signed between the US and Britain, which means, yay, the colonies are independent. Though that did not mean that both sides were still not very buddy-buddy with each other, and were also still doing stuff to piss each other off.
Okay, so this is right after the American Revolution, and we've just signed the treaty, become independent, and understandably the US and the UK kinda still don't really like each other much.
So when France decided screw monarchy and went to conquer most of Europe, Britain and friends went to war with them. And Britain, doing what it does best, sent its big chungus navy to blockade France.
I like this art style, by the way. Not even acknowledging the pixelated art here and the funny giant rabbit. Okay, he got me with that one.
And Britain, doing what it does best, sent its big chungus navy to blockade France. Only problem was they did not have enough sailors. And this was not helped by the fact that many British sailors hopped on over to American ships, as they did not want to serve in the Navy. So Britain did the only logical thing, and started boarding the ships of a neutral nation, and yoinked British deserters. Even the ones that had become American citizens.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this wasn't an exact science, as the British probably took quite a few American sailors, who had never even set foot in Britain.
How awkward would that be? Just to randomly have your ship taken over by Britain and be sailed off to Britain, and you're just an American standing there on the ship like everyone else is just, and you're just, I guess I'm gonna go along with this. I'm English now.
Another thing the Brits did to piss off the Americans was their support of the many Indian tribes fighting the US, and then passing the Ordnance Council, which required American ships to dock in Britain and pay tax before trading with other European powers.
Yeah.
But eventually, the British Prime Minister Robert Jenkinson decided to smooth things out and rescinded the Ordnance Council. But unfortunately, it was not like he could just text the Americans what's up, and it took about 3 weeks for the message to cross the Atlantic.
Right. Gosh, that's a whole thing that you never think about, period. Stuff like that. Communicating that you want peace took 3 weeks. Man, the fact that the travel of information was so slow, done by boat in this case, probably had a pretty significant effect on the course of the entire planet's history. Now that I think about it. Okay, this video has got me going off in my brain in outer space. Okay.
Well, in that time, the Americans decided that they had had enough and declared war. But this wasn't just because America was salty with Britain, but also because they really wanted Canada. And who could blame the US for this? Canada has free healthcare, poutine, and Michael Cera.
Okay, but yes, this is kind of what I learned about in the War of 1812. America just getting greedy, just getting evil, and just wanting to start attacking Canada. It's like, we want Canada now. Yeah, luckily that did not work out.
Now, the US was a bit optimistic about the whole thing. And while yes, they had more troops than Britain and North America, they were of a lower quality, and they only had 17 ships to Britain's over 1,000.
Yeah.
They also believed that the Anglo-Canadians would just see the light and side with the Americans.
Oh, was that a thing? Was that actually a part of it? That America thought it'd just be a bunch of pushovers, they'd meet no resistance? Come Be American! Join America! Come one, come all! I could have been one of the frontline men pitching such a sweet deal to everybody and then just get like an arrow to the head or something. Okay.
So the US rushed in to attack the British in Upper Canada from Detroit with a numerically superior army, and promptly lost and had to give up Detroit. They were also not helped by the fact that the Anglo-Canadians stayed loyal, and so did the Quebecers, as they kind of liked their deal with Britain, where they could be Catholic and French.
That's what I understand. From what I understand, a lot of the Canadians just preferred, perhaps is a better way of putting it, preferred keeping their relations with the British Empire because it gave them more protection, more resources, and I mean, you got America attacking you at this point from the south, so also for those reasons.
Something they feared that the Americans would take away. Meanwhile, in northern Michigan, the British attacked the American garrison there, who had no idea there was even a war going on, because again, no texting in 1812. Also, a bunch of native tribes ended up siding with the British, as they were not too fond of the whole manifest destiny thing, and Britain gave them some vague promises about their own Indian state. So the Americans tried and...
I didn't know that. Interesting. I didn't know about the whole Native Americans, original American inhabitants kind of siding with Britain during a lot of these conflicts, but it makes complete sense. It's sort of that whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing going on there.
Invading again, amassing a force and upsets about their own Indian state. So the Americans tried invading again, amassing a force in upstate New York, but then immediately got clapped by the British after crossing the Niagara River. In 1813, the Americans tried again to take back Detroit, but one of the American commanders screwed up and marched his force ahead of the main force, and got destroyed by the British, which kind of bungled the whole thing.
I didn't know that, unless that event has a name that I might know better, but that's quite a screw-up, huh? Although I would imagine, again, given how communication went, that kind of mistake happening probably being pretty common, honestly.
Marched his force ahead of the main force, and got destroyed by the British, which kind of bungled the whole thing. But the Americans finally did something that did not immediately flop on its face, when they crossed Lake Ontario to take Toronto, and then saw some success taking several forts along the Niagara River.
Oh, I didn't even know that there was any level of success in the Americans' attempt at taking over parts of Canada.
Down south, though, conflict flared up between the US and Creek natives, which Britain, along with Spain, who wasn't even fighting in the war, supported the Creeks. The US did its thing, of course, and defeated them and forced them to cede even more land away. Around this time, the US got a boat to Lake Erie, and there was a freaking naval battle in there, which the US won. So at least the Americans had one out of the 5 Great Lakes in their control. In November, the US's steam ran out when they tried to take Montreal, and failed in that task. With winter setting in, the British used this to their advantage, and pushed back the Americans past the Niagara.
Oh, hold on.
Winter setting.
This is important.
The US's steam ran out when they tried to take Montreal, and failed in that task. With winter setting in, the British used this to their advantage, and pushed back the Americans past the Niagara.
So winter was as winter and cold seems to have effect on a lot of historical long-term conflicts. Winter, just the elements, was a huge factor. It's so interesting how true that is. It's something you'd never think of today because we all live, if you're living in a first world country, you're living in such comfort with clothes, your poofy jacket whenever you need it, that you wouldn't even really appreciate how something like, oh, winter's here, so this entire side of the conflict died. That's how things happened.
This time, Napoleon got defeated, again, which allowed the British to reinforce Canada. The British also started raiding the South, and freed many slaves, many of whom went on to fight for the British. So maybe the British were the good guys in this war. Even with both sides beginning to run out of money for their war efforts, and starting peace negotiations, the British under General Cockburn sailed into Chesapeake Bay and landed near DC.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is! I was just about to say, when does the White House catch on fire? I'm a simple man. I'm just a simple American man. I just want to know, what's up with the White House being on fire? And lo and behold, the very next frame. look at this thing. Okay.
The British under General Cockburn sailed into Chesapeake Bay and landed near DC. When the British entered DC, they began to burn down many public buildings, including the White House. It is even said that a Canadian militia did this, but I really could not find a reliable source on that, so let's just pretend so I can use that as clickbait in the title.
Okay. Okay, so now we get into the details. I mean, we're talking about a war being fought against America where it's basically Great Britain and Canada working together. So I think we can definitely include Canada in on this White House burning activity. And according to the urban legend, it was a Canadian militia, so just some dude who lit the first little match and ran away. And oh, it wasn't me. I didn't light the White House on fire. Or actually, he'd probably want to take credit because it's kind of a real feather in your cap to be that guy, I suppose. Anyway, very interesting. The details here.
I really could not find a reliable source on that, so let's just pretend so I can use that as clickbait in the title.
Yeah,
General
me too.
Cockburn also ordered his soldiers to destroy any C's they found, so the Americans could not abuse his name. Wonder why they did that. But then a big storm hit and the Brits had to go back on their ships. They tried to take Baltimore next.
There we go again. A storm. A freaking weather storm had a huge impact on this invasion. Just, I could go on about the weather. I could go on.
But failed. And Francis Scott Key made a pretty cool song about it. I don't know if you've heard it before. Meanwhile, down south, Andrew Jackson, not the president yet, went and attacked the British and Spanish, who weren't even in the war, at Pensacola. Then moved to New Orleans to fortify for an upcoming British attack. Meanwhile, back in Ghent, where peace negotiations were going on, the Brits proposed control of the Great Lakes region for themselves, and an Indian barrier stayed there. Now, of course, neither side really had any leverage, so on December 24th, 1814, peace was finally signed. With literally no border changes. Unfortunately, again, no texting, British forces still attacked New Orleans, but the Americans under Andrew Jackson repelled it. And then everyone finally got word of the war ending, and hence the war.
Okay, they right. That's like a big deal. Everyone finally. Couldn't you just lie about that? I guess they'd have some kind of official document or orders to show for themselves. But the way the world worked back then, if you were high enough ranked, you could almost just start running around on your horse, telling people, "Oh, the war is over. Peace. I just got the message." I don't know. It probably wouldn't work how I think it would work, but that's what I'd be doing 200 years ago. Some real meta brain battles I'd be waging.
Of 1812 ended in 1815. Great job on naming that, historians. So who really won? I don't know, but the natives sure didn't.
Yeah. Okay, that was very nice video. Very good. Very funny, too. Logan Productions. I give you a like. Thank you for that. That was good. Funny enough, most of this video was just kind of a history lesson, elaborating a little deeper on the War of 1812, a little deeper on some of the nuances of America versus Great Britain, and who was allied with who. And then we got that nugget of, which he said was clickbait, which was kind of true, but I'm okay with it, about torching the White House, burning the White House during an invasion of Washington, D.C. And Canadians, I'm sure, well, I guess I'm not sure, but Canada was part of this whole conflict. So I am willing to grant them some of that credit. I don't know if they want the credit. I'm not Canadian. But I'm going to grant them the credit if they want it. Along with the UK. There you go. You burned the White House. There you go. That's all I'll say about that. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like or a comment. And if you're interested, if I can talk correctly, if you're interested in more content like this, more videos about Canada, its history, culture, news, things I don't know about Canada, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.